Just so you locate where we are digging at Kerbet El Makader, which is right here. It's between Bethel and Bethaven. After surveying and shirting the site in 1994, ABR began excavating Kerbet El Makader in 1995 in an effort to identify an alternate site other than Etel for biblical eye. Dr. Bryant Wood and his team were aware of the much later ruins on the eastern portion of the site, but focused their attention on the Bronze Age remains. Get over here. This is the site, traditional site of Etel. Get back here. This is Makader, the different fortresses. I'm going to be focusing on this area right here. Dr. Wood's team focused here. Okay, it's jumping. And this is the site before any excavation was done after 2010. Because the eastern portion of the site was believed to be predominantly from the late Hellenistic and early Roman period, with some possible Byzantine presence, excavations focused on finding the late Bronze Age ruins on the hill to the west that overlooked the site before moving into the valley just west of the visible walls and the buildings of the late Hellenistic, early Roman period, right here. This is where they began their excavations, and up here. From 1995 until 2010, except for the period during the Second Intifada, very little excavations were conducted on the area of the site, which has now been dubbed the first century village or city. Even from the beginning of the excavations of the eastern portion of the site in 2010, the general thinking was that there was no more than a settlement here. Get this here. These are the excavations that began. This thinking was to change in 2014 when Dr. Scott Stripling succeeded Bryant Wood as the Director of Excavations. The focus then changed and shifted to the late Second Temple period settlement. That same year, renowned archaeological architect Elaine Rettmeyer, a member of the Makader staff, identified and diagrammed a massive tower formation on the northern extremity of the site. Since then, the eastern portion of Makader has been given the tentative designation as a city. And this is a reconstruction, literally hot off the press just yesterday. And so we started our excavations, right in here. The tower dating to the late Hellenistic period measures 30 meters by 16 meters and would have been no less than 20 meters tall. This type of tower has at least two close parallels, one at Deo Caesarea in southern Turkey, where a late Hellenistic tower measuring 15.6 meters by 12.5 meters still stands 22 meters in height. And there's a second tower in Horvat Elak in Israel as well that matches this. Excavations of the most western sections of the Makader Tower during 2015, where we were excavating right in this area, during the 2015 season revealed massive stone foundations and walls that remained intact to a height of more than 2.5 meters in some spots. Also discovered, stuck within the stones of the tower entrance, which is right here, were Roman arrowheads, clear evidence of the Roman attack in 69 CE. This conclusion is further supported by the discovery of two jars, one fully restorable from the mid-1st century CE, sitting on the floor of one of the main rooms of the tower. I believe I have pictures of that. This is the one that's been restored, and a partial one. Thus, there is no doubt that the tower remained in use throughout the first Jewish revolt. The presence of such massive fortifications, especially during the Roman period, points to the reality that Makader was more than a backwater village on the Benjamin Plateau. Some of the evidence that the site was occupied by observant Jewish communities. The next important factor to consider is the identity of the occupants of the city. As noted earlier, the Byzantines were originally thought to have been the last occupiers of the site. Now I have another site, some of the other stuff that has been. The presence of a Byzantine-era monastery dating to the 4th century and to the 7th centuries, or between that period, on a hill to the northwest of the site, indeed confirms that the Byzantines were on the site, perhaps even attributing spiritual significance to the location due to its association with a biblical event or a city such as Joshua's Eye, Abraham's altar, Jacob's Bethel, or Ephraim from the New Testament time period of John 11. However, from the very beginning of the excavations of the city, archaeological evidence clearly pointed to Jewish inhabitants as the last major occupants of Makadar. 7 main archaeological discoveries have confirmed this. The construction of fenestrated walls for the separation of animals from living areas, an abundance of ritual stoneware, the discovery of dozens of ritually desecrated clay pots, undecorated lamps, a number of flint blades possibly used for circumcision rites, numismatic evidence, and the presence of 3 mikvaot. The discovery in 2011 of one partially intact fenestrated wall, this is a reconstruction, I guess I didn't bring it up. This is the reconstruction of the Byzantine era monastery on the site. And just to go back to that one if I can. I guess it doesn't like to reverse, so we'll go forward. There we go. These are the fenestrated walls. This one I've actually reconstructed portion of it. It has since been knocked down. The discovery in 2011 of one partially intact fenestrated wall similar to those found at Capernaum and Kazrim in the Golan Heights is not without significance. Fortunately for the house that was first excavated, it was buried under a pile of debris 2 to 3 meters deep, which allowed for the partial preservation of the wall to a height of 1.5 meters. And this is a reconstruction or a drawing of it. While some portions of Makadar do have walls close to this height, most of the site has walls that are at best 1 meter high. Other fenestrated walls likely existed in the city, but these appear to have been robbed out in antiquity. Ritual stoneware has also been found in abundance at Makadar, even though only about 20% of the site has been excavated to date. Makadar ranks among the top sites, such as Gamla and Yodafa, with 142 pieces found to date. Diagnostic pieces of stone vessels found at Makadar include bowls, measuring and drinking cups, small pitchers and basins, one of which was discovered in an olive press cave and has been fully restored. This is what the pieces were like before Orna Cohen got a hold of it, and this is what it was like when she finished it. Pierced pottery is also attested at Makadar. During the 1st centuries BCE and CE, Jewish people adopted the common practice of piercing pottery, which had become in some way ritually impure, according to Leviticus 11 and 15. Although complete vessels have not been found, a number of sherds with what appears to be deliberate holes pierced in them have been unearthed, several of which came from the mikvah oath. At Makadar, the knife-paired lamp, which was wheel-made, was the lamp of choice. Numerous lamp tips of this type have been unearthed, as well as one almost complete example, as we have here, found in 2013 beside a silo entrance in a side room of the courtyard house. It was found right in here by the silo. To date, no decorated lamps have been found from the Roman era. This appears to be in keeping with Jewish aversion to Roman mold-made lamps, which were characterized by pagan images and figures. Flint tools, blades, and so forth continue to be unearthed at Makadar. In fact, in the excavations of Square C17, an area to the south and just outside of the main 1st century city wall, evidence of a flint factory is emerging. Flint cores, debitage, and numerous flint blades were discovered during the 2015 season. Flint blades have also been discovered throughout the rooms and houses of the main portion of the city. While some may suggest that this is mere coincidence, when considered in tandem with the other evidence, it is in fact very likely that these blades were used for more than just normal household duties. The numismatic evidence is telling when it comes to identifying the city as Jewish. 50 coins from the first Jewish revolt have been found to date. While one cannot be certain as to whether the city was an active participant in the revolt, its capture and demise in 69 CE certainly points to the city as not being pro-Roman. This fact is reinforced by the discovery of 8 human skeletons found in the elaborate hiding system in caves 1 to 3. There were 7 females and 1 young male that was found. Not only were tacks unique to Roman military boots found in the near vicinity, but carbon-14 dating confirms the ceramic and numismatic dating of the site. Next, while by no means as elaborate as the recently discovered 2,000-year-old underground mikveh at Arnona in southern Jerusalem, ABR has excavated 3 underground mikveh of its own. Here's the first one. Second one. We'll go back one. Interestingly, 2 of them have exactly 7 steps, perhaps illustrative of the perfection or purity rituals. In 2013, an underground olive press was discovered between the 2 mikvaot. That would be this one. It is possible that ritually pure olive oil was being manufactured at this site. Because Makadar is located so close to Jerusalem, it is conceivable that the city may have been supplying olive oil to the temple or to ritually observant Jewish families in the region. Finally, although it is not yet known for certain, one building located on the crest of the hill of the main city may in fact be a small synagogue. While it is not on the Acropolis per se, its location on a dominant spot in the city may point to its importance. It has not yet been excavated, but the size and the layout of the building, approximately 6 meters square, points to some sort of public building. All the other buildings and rooms excavated to date fall well under this size. Most of the rooms are between 3 and 4 meters in width, with a maximum length of no more than 7 meters. Apart from the numerous stoneware vessels, other archaeological and material finds point to the reality that the inhabitants of Makadar were people of means. For example, a number of broken glass and alabaster vessels have been found. The glass vessels include drinking glasses, bowls, plates, and various types of perfume containers. Interestingly, in 2012, in square P21, 2 shattered glass cups were found buried in the floor of the first-century era house, with numerous coins strewn around them. These appear to have been buried prior or during the Roman attack and were never retrieved. A building feature which betrays a level of financial ability of the people of Makadar is the underground rooms, which are fairly elaborate, and one in particular has a very elaborate arch. Get this up here. Cisterns. It was unearthed. It has 8 steps down, and this is inside looking out. The subterranean features at Makadar are ubiquitous. Similarly, other signs of more expensive worked stones include a Mizi Yehudi limestone threshold, window and door sills and jambs, and opus sectile paving stones. Many of the more valuable work stones and material finds were no doubt robbed out in antiquity and even more recently. This is indeed the case with the Byzantine monastery, which Dr. Stripling excavated in 2011 to 2013. Not only have a number of the columns been robbed out and placed in the town square at Deir de Bois, which I think we have, I'll get one more here. There are the columns out of the Byzantine church. This was since Edward Robinson visited the site in the 1840s, but now the only intact excavated column from 2012 has been robbed off the site in 2015. Evidence of wealth within the material culture of Makadar continues to be unearthed. To date, finds such as women's cosmetic applicators, mirrors, and jewelry such as rings, beads, toga pins, and earrings all point to a class of people well beyond the level of mere peasantry. In 2012, an ivory stylus, I think I have that, was found in square P20, betraying a literate and educated class. During the 2015 season alone, several pieces of worked ivory and or bone were discovered very close to the proposed synagogue, perhaps in the house of the city's priest. Finally, the abundance of coins found on such a small site has raised the question as to whether Makadar was a coin-making facility. As previously mentioned, only 20% of the site has been excavated, but it has yielded already over 1,000 coins. Adding to this theory for coin making was the discovery of a hammer and tongs along with two keys, all within the same general area of squares P20 and P21. The hammer and tongs may have been used as part of the coin making endeavor, whereas the keys may have been used to keep the coins and equipment safe. Alternatively, if these were the keys of an actual dwelling, this may speak to the city's sudden destruction, since inhabitants would not logically leave their keys behind. Okay, thanks. Evidence of the destruction by the 10th Roman Legion. Clearly, the demise of most Jewish cities during this time can be attributed to the Roman attacks. At Makata, the evidence for this conclusion has come in three different forms: ash deposits, numismatic evidence, and material evidence. To begin with, though the site is a kerbit and much of the ash layer has long since disappeared, there is still evidence of the Roman destruction in 69. If Dr. Stripling is correct about the significance of the site as Ephraim, evidence of extensive burning should not be anticipated, since Josephus notes that Vespasian stationed a portion of his army there after the city was conquered in 69. Nevertheless, there are several examples of burning around the site. For example, in 2012, a 5-centimeter ash layer was discovered at the bottom of a silo, along with a number of coins and ceramic types dating to the early Roman period. The last coin that was found there was around 69. The numismatic evidence is of the most revealing. The last coins coming out of not only the silo but in around the site date to the 3rd year of the Jewish revolt in 69. The city lay destroyed until the monastery was rebuilt on the hill overlooking the site during the mid-4th century. At this time, coins reappear within the monastery, beginning with the reign of Theodosius I. Next, apart from the Roman arrowheads and skeletons noted above, sling stones are in abundance on our site from all periods of occupation. Also in 2014, a Roman die made of lapis lazuli was unearthed in the uppermost levels of the kerbit, perhaps betraying the presence of pillaging Roman soldiers or the fact that they were stationed at Makata after its destruction. As previously mentioned, the presence of disarticulated human remains in the olive press in Cave 1, along with the evidence of destruction, reveal the troubling final days of the city. It appears that the olive press cave was sealed up and used as a hiding place as the Romans advanced. The only access to the cave, other than the bricked up main entrance, are 2 cistern holes, which could easily have been concealed. There was also a classic hiding tunnel indicative of the Second Jewish Revolt. This was a similar means of hiding used to no avail in Jerusalem, where people hid in the underground sewer and drainage system during the final days of the Roman siege. I will jump to the conclusion. To conclude then, long before ABR commenced excavations at Makata, some of the forefathers of archaeology, such as Edward Robinson in 1841 and Ernst Sellen in 1899, had already visited the site and passed it over as insignificant. The work of ABR has challenged Robinson's, Sellen's, and many others' dismissal of the site as anything but insignificant. Although it is just a kerbit, the archaeological and material finds continue to shed light on the importance of this long-standing site, not only for Old Testament studies, but also for those interested in identifying New Testament sites. At Makata, archaeological details concerning Jewish culture and religious practices of the 1st century CE continue to be unearthed. The encroachment of local settlements has already caused approximately 1 hectare of the site to be unavailable for excavations or to be completely destroyed. Time is of the essence as ABR continues to work on the salvage operation so we can salvage as much data as possible. Thank you.